let's just focus on the board. Alright, so let's go ahead and start this up. So when do I use that? So when writing a linear equation, first, you have to determine yep, you're writing this. You have to determine what type of information you have. Okay, so that very first step that you need to take is figure out what am I given. Okay? And then you have to determine which form. Which form you should substitute the information into. So again, we have these three forms. We have slope-intercept form, we have standard form, we have point-slope form. Okay? So you need to figure out which form you need to plug it into. So the three forms for linear equations. First up, standard form. Now, up here on the board, I just have it written as x plus y equals to some number. That's just to say in very general form of x and y need to be on the same side. Now, the most generic form that you're going to see it as far as for an equation goes is going to be ax plus by equals c. Ax plus by is equal to c, because there can be numbers in front of both of these. Okay? Ax plus by equals c. And I'm sorry, there was a typo. Instead of saying or a, it should have said and have. So my bad. So this is your go-to if you do not have a slope. So if you do not have a slope, and you do have the intercepts. So you need both the intercepts, okay? And this is most commonly going to be used when you have word problems. I'm just going to put that off to a little side note. This is most commonly going to be used when you have word problems. Slope-intercept form. And we already know what this one is. This is like our most common one. Y equals mx plus b. Okay? This is your go-to if you have a slope and a y-intercept. So, go figure. When you have a y-intercept and a slope, you're going to use slope-intercept form. Huh. Crazy. Huh. Point-slope form. Point-slope form is up there as well. We can go ahead and write that up here. We have y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1.
What is y and y?
So the y is just like your general y, and the x is just your general x. The y1 and the x1 come from whatever point that you're plugging in. So you need one point in order to be able to plug in your x and your y value. That's what it's going to go over to next. So this is your go-to if you have a slope and any point. So it does not matter what point you use, it'll still give you the same answer. Any point. Okay. If you are debating between using slope-intercept and point-slope, choose point-slope. The reason that is because it'll work every time. Okay? We're going to see some examples later on down in the bottom. You're going to see some examples where we go to try and put it in y-intercept form, slope-intercept form, slope-intercept form, and it doesn't work. So we're going to have to put it in point-slope form. Point-slope form will always work. And the reason it always works, it will work even if the point being used is the y-intercept. So even if your point that you're using is the y-intercept, it'll still work. Okay. And then the last one here, warning, you may need to convert point slope form into slope intercept form. Okay. And I'm going to show you how you can do that as well. Anybody still need this up here? Thumbs up if you're good. So let's go ahead and look at some of these examples. Okay. So this very first one, number 1, what are we given? Right, Grace?
Our y-intercept and our slope.
We're given a y-intercept and a slope. So what form could we put that in? Slope-intercept form. How about that? So I'm going to put my y is equal to. What's my slope? 3. X. Oh, you said plus 5?
Yep.
Alright, so our y-intercept is at 5. There it is. Y equals 3x plus 5.
That's all we have to do.
That's it. See how easy that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, let's look at number 2. M is equal to 0. And we have 0 comma negative 4. Danny? Y equals negative 4. How'd you get that?
Because there is no slope.
Well, there is a slope, but it's
Zero.
0. So the slope is 0. So again, I can put it in a y equals mx plus b form. So y equals 0 x minus 4. But anything times 0 is always
Yeah.
0. So I'm basically just going to have y is equal to negative 4. Right?
Would it just be a straight line?
What?
Would it just be a straight line?
Yeah, it would just be a straight line. Horizontal line. Let's look at number 3. M is equal to 1. And we have 0 comma 3. What form are we going to put it in? Shane is trying to say slope intercept form, which is too embarrassing to say. Slope intercept form. So if I have slope intercept form, that means I have what? Hunter?
The y-intercept
Y-intercept
and slope.
and the slope. Those are the two things I have. So I have y is equal to 1x
Plus 13.
plus 3.
Oh, I thought
Not cool.
I forgot. Do all this. I didn't have it right.
What about number 4?
Nobody got it.
M is equal to 2/3, and we have 15 comma 30.
Oh,
What are we given?
you got your y-intercept.
Hunter, what are we given?
The slope.
The slope and you don't know? Alright. Danny? A point. I don't know what the heck that point means, but we have some point. So we have a slope and a point. So what form out of these 3 are we going to use? We have the slope and a point. Anthony? Point, slope form, right? Makes sense. So we're going to go ahead and write point slope form. So I have y minus, what's my y value here? What's my y value here? Grace? 30. So then that's equal to, what's my slope? 2/3. Parentheses, x minus, and what's my x value? 15. Done. That's it. I won't. I've grown.
Why you behind me?
You should turn this swivel, so.
I did have it swiveling. Number 5. What do I have? Hunter, what do I have?
You have a point and you have a slope.
I have a point and I have a slope. Okay. So, what form am I going to use?
Point, slope, forward.
Point, slope, form. So, that should look like what?
I don't know. I don't understand what's.
Well, let's look over at the board. We got to copy down the y
Oh, I understand that.
minus, what's my y value?
Oh wait, no, I did it right.
Did you do it right? Grace?
Negative one.
My y value here is -1. So it's minus -1.
But then it should be.
Minus a negative turns into a plus a positive, right? Okay. So I really have y plus 1. And that's equal to my slope then, because m is the next part I go with. That's -1/2. Okay. Parentheses. X minus, what's my x value? -4. So I have to put a -4 here. So it's minus a negative, which turns into a positive, plus a positive. Done?
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. Let's look at 6. M is equal to -1, and I have 8 comma -5. What form am I using? Shane, what am I using? What do I have? I have the slope, and what else? The intercepts? What do we call that 8 comma -5? What is this? Starts with a P and ends a point.
Point.
Point! Just a point, right? You don't know what it actually represents, but it's a point. So I have a slope and I have a point. So which form am I going to use? Kirk? Last one, point slope form. So I continue on. I have y minus. What's my y value?
Negative 5.
-5, so y minus -5, which turns into positive. That's equal to my slope, which is -1, times x minus -8. That's it. This isn't really that hard, right? Not really. Alright, time to throw some more challenge into you now.
Oh, gotcha.
The first 6 are pretty, self-explanatory, no big deal.
Oh, yeah.
7 through 9,
I gotta save it.
a little more difficult, but we can do it. Alright, let's look at number 7. What do we have in number 7?
Next value and what value?
An x value and a y value. What kind of x value and y values?
Positive and negative.
Well, more specifically though, what are they? They are coordinates.
It's a coordinate pair.
They are coordinate pairs. But where would those be located?
Graph.
But where on the graph?
Along the x and y axis.
Bam! So what are those called? No, starts with an I.
I am.
Anthony's trying to help you out.
Good job, man.
Intercepts. They're x and y intercepts. Okay? So Dennis was definitely on the right track. We have that 3 and we have that -4 as an x and a y value respectively. Okay, but we need to be able to take these x and y intercepts and we need to put it into some form. Well, Slope-intercept form, I need the slope, and I don't have a slope. Point-slope form, I have a point, but again, I need the slope, and I don't have a slope. So the only other option is putting it into standard form. Now, in my last class, okay, struggled a little bit with this. They tried to say 3x minus 4y is equal to something. They tried to say that 3x minus 4y is equal to something.
It can't be.
Well, that doesn't really give us these values. Okay? So it's not going to be this. Okay? It's not going to be these two. What I'm going to do is go ahead and I'm going to put that plus sign in between just in case. But if I'm looking at these two numbers, 3 and negative 4, what number could I get both of these numbers to if I tried to multiply them by something? What would they have in common? The least common multiple is what if anybody remembers that. Danny? 6. Well, 3 would get to 6, but 4 can't. Can you? 12. Right, I can multiply 4 times 3 and that'll give me 12, and negative 4 times negative 3 would get me the 12, right? So they'll both get to 12. So just like how we solved for the x and y intercepts, if I covered up the x, so x doesn't exist anymore, I'm just left with something y. Well, I want to get to negative 4. So 12 divided by what will get me negative 4?
Negative 3.
Negative 3. 12 divided by negative 3 is going to get me to that negative 4. Now let's do the same thing, cover up the y. 12 divided by what will give me positive 3?
4.
4. So I have 4x plus negative 3, or you could say minus 3, y, is equal to 12. Now, if I would go ahead and cover up the x, I would get my y-intercept of negative 4. And if I cover up the y, I'd be able to get my x-intercept of positive 3. Okay? So that's kind of how you have to think about it. You almost want to take both of them and kind of, what you can do is just multiply them together, and then you'll kind of see a pattern if you do that every time. But whatever way works for you, you can find the least common multiple. If that works better for you, do it that way. Again, this is the first time that we're really seeing it like this. We'll keep practicing it. So if you don't necessarily fully grasp it right now, that's okay. We're gonna keep talking about it. Let's look at number 8. We have 0, 3 and 5, 5. So what do we have? What do we have? What is that 0, 3? What is that?
I got it.
Hunter?
That is the y.
Y-intercept. And what's that 5, 5?
That's the first point.
Some point, right? Some random point. So I have a y-intercept, and I have some random point. Is there anything up here that I can just go ahead and plug that information into to be able to get an equation?
No.
No. Because I need a slope for slope-intercept form. I need the x-intercept and the y-intercept for standard form. And for point-slope form, I still need the slope. So here, I'm going to need to find my slope first, and that brings me over to the other side. Rise over run. The change in y over the change in x. I need to figure out what my slope is before I can do anything. So I'm going to go ahead and label these. I have x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to take 5 minus 3 over 5 minus 0. Okay. So now 5 minus 3 is 2. and 5 minus 0 is 5. There's my slope. Done. Okay? So now I have my slope, the y-intercept, and some point. So, where should I plug it into? I have the slope, the y-intercept, and some point. Which one should we probably plug it into? You have two options, really. Danny? I would probably put it in slope-intercept form, just because it's probably easier that way. But also, point-slope form would also work. So I'm going to go ahead and use that y equals the slope, which is 2 over 5, x, plus, and then my y-intercept, which is 3. Done. That's all it is. All right, last one here. This time, what do I have? Last time I had a y-intercept in some point. This time I have, go ahead, Janie. X-intercept and some point. Right. So this time I have an x-intercept and some point. Doesn't really help me at all, either one of these things. So what's the first thing I need to find? Let's look. So I'm going to go ahead and do exactly what I did before. I'm going to label these x1, y1, x2, y2, and then I subtract them. So I have 6 minus 0 over negative 4 minus 2. 6 minus 0, that's pretty easy, and it's just 6, over negative 4 minus 2. Remember, a negative being subtracted, so I should get what? Negative 6. So I can simplify that, right?
Yeah.
So 6 divided by negative 6, what would that equal? Negative 1. So now I have a slope of negative 1, I have the x-intercept, and I have some random point. What form should I use?
Wait, you have the what? Can you repeat it?
I have the slope, the x-intercept, and some random point.
Point slope.
Point slope form, right? I don't have a y-intercept, so I can't plug it into slope-intercept form. So, I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. So I have y minus y1, which is the, does it matter which point I choose? Oh, really? So which point do you guys want to choose?
0.
2.
0.
0.
2
yes,
comma 0?
No, yes, 0.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's use that point, so now we'll be subtracting 0.
I was 0.
And that's equal to the slope, which is negative 1, times x minus 2. Now, if you want, you can get rid of that 0, and you just have the y equals. That's fine too. Can you?
Oh, what did number 8 be wrong?
Number 8 be wrong. Why?
Because, it should be negative 2 or negative 5.
What? What?
2 and negative 5.
You flip them.
Oh, yeah.
You flip them. When you do if you do this one first, minus this one, make sure you're doing this one first, minus this one. So
Okay.
you accidentally flip them. Yeah, if you crisscross, you'll get a wrong answer. So make sure you're keeping the same side first. So that's actually a really good form. So that's good. Okay. Anybody have any other questions on this?